Theme music means it's time to hear from our Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, Captain Kangaroo. Janet Yellen on the debt ceiling.
It's utterly essential that this be done. I've said that by the 18th of October, we will be out of extraordinary measures, have limited cash, and likely to exhaust it very quickly. And so I do regard October 18th as a deadline. It would be catastrophic to not pay the government's bills, for us to be in a position where we lack the resources to pay the government's bills. It really undermines confidence in the full faith and credit of the United States, our willingness to stand behind our debts and make sure that we pay them.
Yeah, and Andrew Ross Sorkin of CNBC dutifully nodded along while Captain Janet Yellen spoke. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, economist, Trumponomics author. Steve, the end of the Republic, October 18th, if we don't have Republican votes for the debt ceiling increase.
Well, good morning, guys. And let me explain this because there's so much misinformation. And incidentally, you did a nice summary of what's going on, Dan, but I just want to correct you on one thing. It is true. The Democrats say we have a mandate, a voter mandate to do what we're doing. What voter mandate are they talking about? How many people do you think went to the polls in November and said, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden? He's going to raise the debt by $10 trillion. He's going to raise taxes through the roof. And we're going to have, he spent his whole time campaigning saying, you're not electing Bernie Sanders, you're electing me, lunch bucket Joe. I'm the moderate Democrat. And as the Wall Street Journal said in their editorial on Saturday, boy, it sure looks like us, like Bernie is running the White House, not Biden with the radical left-wing agenda. So nobody voted for this. Nobody. The polls show very decisively by more than a 2-to-1 margin, people do not want this massive spending and debt bill and the massive tax increase. Now, let's get to the issue you were just talking about this debt ceiling, because there's so much misinformation. First of all, let's just say it's not going to happen, but let's just say that we went past the debt limit and now we're in a situation where the government cannot issue a single penny of new debt. Now, what would that mean? Would it mean, oh, my God, the whole world's going to come to an end, we're going to have to default on our debt? No. It would just simply mean this. The government can't borrow anymore. So what does that mean? It can only do like what a household does. You can only spend what you bring in. So, we have normal revenues that come in every day to the federal government, the payroll tax revenues, the income tax revenues, the sales tax revenues, all that stuff, gas tax money. It comes into the government. It would only be able to spend that amount of money. So it wouldn't be able to borrow anymore. So essentially, it would have to operate on a balanced budget. Gee,
we don't do that, Stephen Moore.
That's only spend what you bring in.
That's
what the rest of us do. Why can't the government do it?
That's the definition. That's the definition of a crisis in D.C. Yeah.
What's that?
That's the definition of a crisis in D.C. Having to only spend what you bring in.
Exactly. We can't possibly do that. But then it would be really interesting if it came to pass, because then the Biden administration would have to decide, okay, what do we spend money on? Do they really want to cut Social Security checks? Do they really want to, cut back on Medicare? No, why don't we get rid of the Department of Education? Why don't we get rid of the Department of Labor? Why don't we get rid of foreign aid? All these other stupid programs that we don't need. I think the American people would kind of stand up and applaud and say, good, we're getting rid of all this crappy spending in Washington that we don't need. But that's not going to happen. This is all just a scare tactic. It's the Grim Reaper, because they want the Republicans. Here's what's going on here again, Amy. They want the Republicans to stand on the side of the cliff with the Democrats and jump over. Now, if they're so concerned about, oh, my God, we can't breach our debt ceiling, then why don't they withdraw the $5 trillion spending bill? Then we don't have to raise the debt ceiling by $7 trillion.
That would make sense. And I got to tell you, Department of Education could go bye-bye. I met that Secretary of Education. He is not home upstairs, if you know what I mean. And they're spending money driving around the Midwest in a purple bus that says school is back open. When here in Chicago this morning, we have close to 6,000 kids that are healthy that are not in school because they walked by somebody in the hallway who had COVID, who was asymptomatic.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And how about the Department of Transportation? We've got Buttigieg, he's going to be given a $100 billion slush fund in the so-called infrastructure bill, and he hates cars.
Oh, that's right. He rides his bike for photo ops.
Secretary?
He likes the choo-choo trains. He's from here. He was actually an intern at Channel 5 in Chicago when I worked
Oh,
there.
it's fascinating.
Fascinating.
What such a
He's
rich
just-
life he's lived.
He has.
So,
But I got to tell you guys,
well-
I do have some good news for you. I mean, the price of poker is going down a little bit in Washington.
Yeah.
So they were at 3.5 trillion. Well, actually 5 trillion, because we talked about this last week. They use phony accounting. And by the way, if the congressmen and senators were the accountants in a private firm, they would lock them. They would put them in jail the way they do this phony accounting. But now. The White House is finally making new plans, saying, "Okay, we're not going to be able to get 3.5 trillion. We're going to have to lower it to 2 trillion." So here's what these phony baloney people do in Washington. So AOC, you all know AOC, the lovely AOC. She says, "Okay, what we're going to do is rather than score this for 10 years or 7 years, we're going to just score it for 5 years."
Right.
And so they cut that thing in half by just using phony accounting numbers. These people are devious.
Yes, and so what's your handle on that sort of refashioned and, as you said, timeline adjusted socialist spend-a-thon? Does that have any legs with Manchin and Sinema? Because that's really all that matters at this point.
Well, you'd have to follow Kristen Sinema into the bathroom to find out the answer to that.
or on an
Or on an
airplane.
airplane. Yeah. That poor thing. She needs a security guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean,
she's
if
a
there were conservatives doing that, they would call that an insurrection, right? Look, I think this thing is in jeopardy. I think it's in peril. I think I was saying the polls show every day that goes by, the American people look at this and they're disgusted by it. It is so filled with all of these special interests. I love when Biden keeps saying, "This is for working class Americans." No, it's not. This bill isn't about helping working class Americans. This bill is about putting more money into the coffers of every liberal left-wing group, and whether it's the unions or the media or these groups from Planned Parenthood to People for the American Way to the Sierra Club. It's just going to massively fund them. In this bill, there's $1 billion for just a slush fund, $1 billion for community organizations. Gee, do you think that's going to be Heritage Foundation and the Cato Institute?
Yeah, well, nor should it be. Yeah, right.
And that's a lot of money. I mean, $1 billion, that's like 40 heritage foundations, so they're passing out money to repay their, this is pay to play, guys. That's what this is. And it's we used to call it graft, but it is sickening. I think Americans are turning against it. We got to kill, Larry Kudlow has it right. Kill this bill. Get rid of all the spending, the taxes. Our taxes are going to go higher than the taxes in China, for God's sakes. I mean, what is this? We're supposed to be the land of the free.
He is Steve Moore, economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, Trumponomics author. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, guys. By the way, please tell me it's not going to be the Arlington Heights Bears.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
That's
we
done.
want that. It's already
That's done.
Why would you,
Done.
Stephen Moore? The McCaskey. Listen, the McCaskies, they wanted fans in the stands this year, and because they rent Soldier Field, okay, from the Park District and the mayor. They have to deal with those two, levels of bureaucracy that now they don't have to. If they own the land in the stadium, they can do what they want.
Hey,
oh my God!
wait,
I'm celebrating. This should be celebrated, Stephen.
Steve, just go to Florida. Just forget Chicago, like the rest of it. Just forget it. It's over. Don't come back.
So
Save yourself, Steve Moore.
I was there in Wrigley Field, and I think it was 1968 when Gail Terrace scored 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you can.
We'll keep those memories close to your heart.
Exactly. Have fun memories.
I was one of the 500,000 people in the stadium.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We can have a Super Bowl now in Arlington Heights.
He was
Think
there
about
for
it.
Ernie Banks's 500th. He was there. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right, Steve. Thanks.
You'll love the new location, trust me. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Meet Tim.
Hey, what's up?
He's the person you hired for your digital marketing strategy. And when he's done battling aliens on his PS5 in his parents' basement, I'm sure he'll get right to work. Now, meet the team